Express tonight, a very important conversation, keeping Ghana clean from rhetoric to action. Now, in 2017, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo made this declaration.
It's a commitment I want all of us to make, that within these 4 years, by the end of the 4 years of my term in office as president, Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa. That is where we want to get to. That is the commitment I'm making on your behalf and on all our behalves, that by the end of the 4 years of Akufo-Addo's presidency, Accra will be the cleanest city in the entire African continent.
That then was a bold declaration. The entire African continent. Many thought it was bold. It was bold last 2017, 2 years ago. It is bold today, even listening to it. However, just yesterday, the sanitation minister, Madam Cecilia Dapa, announced a new deadline. Watch.
Inshallah, the president will go for 2 terms, and at the end, Accra would have been, and we are on course. God is in control, and the battle is still the Lord's. And to tell you that His Excellency, the President, is so serious with this call to all of us to make Accra the cleanest city.
So there you have it, from rhetoric to action. The rhetoric was 4 years, emphatically 4 years. 2 years on, exactly 2 years on, by the way, the sanitation minister, the new sanitation minister, introduces a second-term prospect. Second term, by the way, in our constitutional dispensation, currently it's 4 years plus an additional 4 years. We're talking about 2024. But the President of the Republic was so emphatic, you cannot possibly introduce the possibility of another four-year term to it in 2024. He was specific. By the end of my 4 years. Can the minister do this without necessarily, I guess, recourse to where we are right now? And that, I guess, is one of the things we need to assess. Now it's been shifted to 2024. But what do we know about where we are? I mean, we declared this in 2017. It's been 2 years. What have we achieved in the last 2 years to give any confidence that we could do this in the next 6 years, if the president gets another term, by the way? And so that's where we are today. Now, at that same event, a number of things also came up that we'll be talking about today. She says all 259 metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies are expected to deploy, we know, sanitation officers across the country. He says by July this year. We'll interrogate that as well. Now, he also says that they'll review the street sweeping scheme to ensure enhanced effectiveness and efficiency in service delivery. Also, that the ministry will also review the 2010 environmental sanitation policy. Well, we'll look at that policy itself and interrogate it on this particular show. That the ministry will also transform the poorly managed landfill facilities across the country. That's another thing that we'll look at. It's been a subject that we've been battling with for a while. But the key question tonight, how do we move from rhetoric to action? When it comes to sanitation, every single president has his own rhetoric on it. At the end of the 4-year term, 8-year term, an assessment is done. It almost appears as if there's a cyclical problem. So tonight, we'll look at that. I have guests in the studio who understand this. We'll interrogate the facts. We'll return. Stay with us here on PM Express. My guest in the studio tonight, we have Yaw Akwaa Lartey. He is the interim national president, Environmental Health Officers Alliance Ghana. Thank you for joining us. Yaw is my guest in the studio. Also with us is Ibrahim Musa. He is the water and sanitation consultant at the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation, CONEWAS. Thank you very much, Ibrahim.
Thank you.
Also for joining us. And so we've heard the minister. I want us to start from there. We'll also be joined on the telephone line, by the way, by the ranking member on the Environment, Science and Technology. They have oversight over the ministry in question. We'll speak to him how they've been scrutinizing the budget and what that says about the going forward. But yeah, we just played at the beginning the dichotomy. Does it illustrate the problem when the president had made a bold declaration in 2017 and was very emphatic that he wants to do this in 4 years, and then the minister comes and says, well, he has 2 terms, which ends in 2024, assuming he wins another term? Does that, for you, say something about the commitment to really fix this within the shortest possible time? Because we're sitting on a sanitation crisis, are we not?
Sure, yeah. In fact, always, as from the public health point of view, I always say that sometimes the statements are political. If you look at environmental health and sanitation units, as I said earlier, the schools, we have the schools of hygiene, which was established in 1925. Gold Coast is the first health training institution in Ghana to manage environmental health and sanitation. And we were working under the Ministry of Health. In 1994, December, we were transferred from Ministry of Health to local government. Now, if you look at the pillars of health, it has preventive, it has curative, and rehabilitation. Let's take in tree, they will say Mukia. It has 3 things. If you take one out, a level 2, how are you going to cook on it? You can't. So they've taken that one aspect, the main one, which is preventive, out into the local government. Now, look at the sanitation problems in Ghana. If you are tasked, a police officer is tasked to arrest his or her own father or mother, will it be possible? It will be very difficult. The same way, we were there and we were checking local government on these sanitation issues. 1994, they transferred us to local government. And local government is in charge of sanitation. And we, the enforcers of the law, are under the local government. So it's a bigger challenge for us to enforce the law. So if the president, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, and the Honorable Minister says 2 terms or 4 terms, we, the enforcers, are not even resourced to be able to curb the sanitation problems in Ghana.
So what you're saying is, regardless of how long this takes, without you people who are actually going to enforce this aren't equipped to do it?
No.
So you can set a target of 2050?
2050, it won't be done.
And it won't be done?
No.
Because you're not resourced?
We are not resourced.
Okay. Ibrahim, let me bring you in here. So the president had made a pronouncement. By the way, I need to state that when the minister says that the president has 2 terms, that's not factual. No president has 2 terms. The Constitution, which governs our republic, says every president has a term.
Absolutely.
Has a term. It's subject to renewal.
Absolutely.
Depending on what the voters say.
Absolutely.
So when the minister says, well, the president has 2 terms and by the end of it, it would have been achieved, that's not accurate. It's simply as simple as that.
Yeah.
Because the Constitution doesn't give any particular precedent any 2 terms. This is not an 8-year system we run in this country. Some countries have 5 years, some countries have 8 years, some of them have more. Ours is a 4-year term.
Absolutely.
And so the president was accurate. The minister was wrong. As simple as that. Now, Ibrahim, so having said that, does it matter, and this is the question for me, does it matter that the president said 4 years, the minister is introducing 2 terms, which is 8 years, on this very important subject that we know we should have fixed 60-something years ago when we became, immediately after we became independent. We are in 2019, and we cannot even agree on when to fix the problem of sanitation.
Yeah.
The president and his minister disagree on when to fix the problem.
Yeah. Thank you, Evans, and good evening to your cherished listeners across the globe. To your question, I will say that it matters most that we need to talk when the president, who sets the overall vision for the country, and Honorable Minister Dapa seem to be disagreeing. Because the president, when you played back the tape, it was clear.
Yeah, he emphasized and repeated it.
Yes.
He said 4 years.
He said 4 years. So there is no doubt about the president's articulation of the timeline that he wants the sanitation problems to be fixed. And from my perspective, I am thinking that perhaps Minister Abena Dapa is rather, trying to play smart on Ghanaians. That look, she's setting the agenda, and you cannot begrudge her because, she's an employee of the president. She serves at the behest of the president. So if she's able to set the agenda of exciting Ghanaians to renew the mandate of the president for another 4 years, it means that she will be in employment. So on that note, then you can say that, look, let's forgive our minister for saying that, even though factually the president has 4-year mandate which ends 2020 and maybe it goes to 6th January 2021, unless and until Ghanaians decide to renew. We know that that's the constitutional limits that the president has. But to the effect that Madam Abena, being a seasoned politician as she is, wants to remain in government and if possible rise, she will want that the president mandate be renewed so that she could stay.
Yeah.
But for me, the difficulty with that is, if you look at critical social service, essential, as a matter of fact, if you look at the 2010 National Sanitation Policy, sanitation is designated as essential social service. And Evans, your station, Joy FM, JoyNews, from 2013 to date, you have chronicled, followed the disastrous consequences of poor sanitation.
The many people who have died,
Absolutely.
not only forget about the health problems that have led to people's cholera, etc., but the floods that it causes. Because all that you see in the background that we are watching us with in the backdrop there, that you see clogs the drains, leads to flooding, which kills people, and it does it all over again. It's a cycle.
So if His Excellency the President Akufo-Addo, says this agenda, why should his minister contradict?
This is an answer to that, though. Wasn't she speaking reality? In other words, she's a minister. The president, fantastic leader, declares a vision.
Yeah.
But the man on the ground is seeing that there's no way I can do this by 2020. So she's communicating the reality. The president has said the ideal. But she's actually, we just heard Yaw say, we don't have the equipment. We were going to implement this. So she looked at her and said, listen, we need to rethink this. And so wasn't you rather being honest with us and telling us that there's no way we can achieve this
but Ivan,
if you're going with the president's timeline?
This is where I also respectfully disagree.
Okay.
In the sense that, you see, we need to prioritize sanitation. And I say this without an iota of doubt, that if His Excellency the President set an agenda and said, let's deal with sanitation, he had no doubt about the importance of sanitation. In the National Environmental Sanitation Policy, in the Program of Economic and Social Development, the President's vision for Ghana, it is stated clearly that sanitation is a driver of human development. What that means is that if you were to take all our facets of development, sanitation underpins all. Look, when the president set the agenda for free SHS, are we not getting it?
True.
Are we not finding money?
True.
So if Honorable Abena Cecilia Dapa wants to tell us that she's resetting the agenda because perhaps we are thinking for her now, she might be reasoning that there is no money, she could have gone to the president and say, look, you gave me a tough job, and the tough job because my budgetary allocations are not coming. Now,
this is an important point. Let's stay there. Because if you look at the budget that we've been looking at since this government took power, it's obvious. And the conversation we are having tonight is shifting from rhetoric to action. And you see that the president's talk hasn't been backed with action. Because in fact, if you read the ministry's own document, a fantastically designed document that talks about the sanitation plan from 2020-2022 that they've designed very recently. It shows that this government has consistently, at least from 2017 to 2018, reduced the sanitation budget. Yeah. In fact, in 2017, reading from the policy document, they got in excess of 200 million cedis. 241 million. Yes. In 2018, they got 180 million, which is close to 80 million less than they got. Yeah. And remember, it was in 2007 that the president made this bold declaration, right? Yeah. And yet the next year, which is closer to his 4-year deadline, he gives sanitation lower amount than he gave the year. So your point is that
but hold on, let me add another dimension of this budget that we are not opening our eyes to.
Okay.
Apart from the lead ministry, which is the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, a huge amount is buried somewhere in another ministry.
Tell us about it.
Ministry, which is the Ministry of Special Development Initiative.
Okay.
They have sent huge amount of resources to that ministry.
To do what?
To do sanitation, to do water. I tell you, go and pick the 2019 budget. Connie has perused through, and we are coming out with a statement because we are still quantifying, we are still reducing the output, the number of toilets in schools, the number of water points they want to drill, across the 10 regions of Ghana. We are still quantifying the amount because we are liaising with the appropriate state agency, community water institute that is supposed to be leading to know for each particular output. Say a small town water system in CWSA estimate being the lead sector agency, how much will it cost? And we will cost it. And I tell you that even from conservative estimates, the amount of financial outlay that has been given a 2019 budget to the Ministry of Special Development Initiative is twice that of Ministry of Sanitation. Why? And so it raises the question or the issue of coordination. Are we really coordinating? And that also comes back as this discussion evolves. We will dissect the relationship between the Ministry of Special Development Initiative, the relationship between the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, and the relationship between the Ministry of Water Resources and Ministry of Local Government, where the 259 MMDA sit. Yeah. How are they coordinating?
I want to go onto the phone lines very quickly, and I want to bring in the ranking member on the Environment, Science and Technology Committee in Parliament. That is Ebenezer Labi. Mr. Labi, thank you for your time here on PM Express.
Thank you.
Yes, and I know your committee, you have oversight over this particular ministry.
Not exactly, though, but I can speak to this.
No problem. I know, but you scrutinize the budget.
Sorry?
You scrutinize the budget, the ministry's budget?
No, not exactly. As I said, sanitation is not under environment. But then we are, we have some concerns as a committee, that have something to do with the environment.
Okay, good. Yeah. So tell me, we've heard the bold declarations. Yeah. You are in Parliament, and so Parliament as an institution, we know you approve the budget.
Yes.
You've seen the 2019 budget, 2017, 2018, 2019. What does the budget tell you in terms of the commitment? Because you have to put your money where your mouth is, right?
Yes.
I mean, what does the budget tell us?
Well, thank you very much, and good evening. You see, we are missing the point here. We are missing a lot in the sense that when you look at the issue with sanitation in this country of ours, our structure, the local government, ministry or the municipal and district, municipal and district assembly have direct responsibility, for the maintenance of, the environment, as far as sanitation is concerned. You understand? Now, we have a situation where, I was listening to the gentleman there. We have a situation where money that are meant for this assembly, where the action is, where, they are supposed to employ the services of people who will be clearing the waste and the, downfield sites and whatever. Monies meant for these institutions have been cut and redirected into, another, area called another, ministry called Ministry for Special Initiative. No, ministry for special initiative, where if not if it is not duplication, then other things are being done with those resources, which inadvertently do not impact positively on the environment. And the district assemblies are willing under pressure to take care of sanitation, and that is the reason why we are where we are today, my brother. We have a situation where, for the first time, the government introduced what we call capping and realignment of statutory funds. These monies, were supposed to go to the district assembly. As I speak to you, some of them at some of the district assemblies are not even meeting because they don't have money. They are not being resourced. All the filth is generated at the various districts, and they are close, to the center of, action. They are supposed, to maintain, the environment, take care of the garbage that are being generated all over. And in the end, because they are unable to take care of this because of lack of funds, everything gets into the gutters because garbage are collected. People don't count for them because they are not paid. You don't have people, to take off. They don't even have money, they themselves, to do the job, to do the safety, etc. So you have all of these things, all of garbage that is generated because, we cannot live with it. People would have to go, necessarily go and put them in an open drain. And at the end of the day, the gutters get choked. When it rains, we find ourselves in a situation that we are experiencing now. So the fact that yes, it is good to talk. It is easy. I mean, to say all manner of things. I've heard, I have not read the details of the minister's press statement, but the information I have is that they are going to, employ sanitation guards and whatever. My question is that if you employ them, are they the ones going to desilt the gutters? Are they the ones, going to cover the drains that are the open drains? What will be their job? If these people do not have, if the various assemblies do not have money to desilt the gutters, to the already filled gutters, to the drains that are already choked, if they don't have money to take care of those ones, how what will be the work of the sanitation guy? Do you understand? Well, so what they are saying is that they would rather give money. They would rather give money to people to go and watch over the field, or what? What are you telling us?
Yeah, the ministry clearly wants to do something about this. Apart from the sanitation guards, they've talked about the long-term plan. There's a policy they developed.
But mind you, the promise. I mean, the president promised us, told us something. He even said 100 days. I mean, people are telling me this in the first 4 years. Yes. In his first term. But what I heard was that 100 days Accra was going to be clean, and by extension, all other districts. Because if you extend the financial,
he said in 4 years
to Accra, you have to do that to Tema, you have to do that to Takrady, you have to do that to Koforidua, because they come under the same umbrella, and therefore whatever you do for Accra must do for Koforidua, you must do for, so that if we want to keep Ghana clean, it is done in a holistic manner. Yeah. You understand? So if you are saying, I believe that by saying that you want to make Accra clean, by extension you want to do same to Kumasi, Tamale, and the rest. We have a situation where their main source of income, right? It is being cut off. It's being cut. So what do you want them to do?
Okay. I mean, Mr. Lab, I'm grateful for that input, and let's.
Hello.
Yes, thank you very much for that input. Let me bring him Yaw. So. I think what the Honourable Member of Parliament is talking about is a decentralization, right? Because we run a decentralized government, which is a sanitation must be taken care of by the local assembly, because that's where the refuse is, etc., is. But from what he's saying, it appears that we are almost centralizing this all over again. We are putting this so much in the ministries and cutting the resources to the local assemblies, who actually must implement and the bylaws at that level, which is becoming the problem. It's the reason why we are not winning the war against sanitation, is it not?
Sure. I would say I support partially what the minister said.
Sorry, the Member of Parliament is a ranking, yes.
Ranking, yes. I support partially. You know, decentralization, as we say, are we even decentralizing the sanitation problems at all?
Yeah.
Anytime you hear someone speaks, he's talking about Accra, Accra, Accra. I would say that the RCCs, the regional coordinating councils, the MMDAs, they are the implementers. When you come to the sanitation ministry, they develop only policy. They are only all the ministries are policy makers. Secondly, the officers were under the Ministry of Local Government, for that matter, the Local Government Service, and we were having Environmental Health and Sanitation Directorate at that time. Currently, the directorate have been moved under Ministry of Sanitation.
So the Environmental Health Officers Alliance, I mean the Environmental Health Officer, what do they do?
We are in charge of public health across the country.
Okay, so specifically, what do you do in real terms?
Yes, environmental health. We can talk about environmental health and we can talk of sanitation. When you say sanitation, it's water and toilet.
Yeah.
But environmental health talks about health promotion, talk about prevention.
Solid waste, you know.
So environmental health is broader than sanitation. But the whole country, when we are talking, we talk of sanitation, leaving the environmental health.
Because sanitation will come under environmental health.
Yes, it is there. So even when you talk of the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, Ministry of Sanitation means water and toilet. So water resources means what? Sanitation means like tautological ministry.
And if you read their medium-term expenditure framework that they have, there's more focus on the water part of it than the sanitation part of it. Because I see that there's a lot of investment in expanding access, which is very good, by the way. But we know that the refuse has to be collected as well. I mean, it has to be clean, yes.
But I don't think the Ministry of Sanitation is in charge of waste in the country. It is the Ministry of Local Government, for that matter, the RCCs.
Isn't that where the conflict is?
Yes.
I mean, Ibrahim, isn't that where the conflict is?
Yeah, and to just further from where Yaw left and you are coming on, actually when in 2017, again, that comes to the vision of the President, His Excellency, when he wanted to give visibility, he wanted to give strategic focus, he created, for the first time in our history, Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources. Actually, that is good because given the menace of sanitation issues that we have, given the challenges, to give strategic focus by creating a new ministry is laudable.
2 years on.
2 years on, what have we achieved?
The question I'm going to ask you really is that, I want you to give me an answer, don't ask the question. 2 years on,
yes.
Was it so wise to have
Exactly, and that is the
knowing what we know now?
And that is the question or analysis that all of us should be doing.
But you've been doing analysis.
Yes, and
have you come to conclusion yet?
We are saying, what we are saying is that all is not lost.
Okay,
but all is not lost because
do we still need the ministry?
We need the ministry, but what we need is, as key stakeholders, perhaps all hands must be on deck. And this is where CONIWAS, we extend olive branch to Honorable Minister Dapa. Mind you, Evans, when you get to the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, they are very, very key experts there who can really, if given resources to work, can really support the minister to deliver. They have, from the head of the Environmental Health and Sanitation Directorate, you know, Engineer Mensah, through to his colleagues, Kweku Kwanzaa and Co., Emmanuel Kote, and to the Water Directorate, you know, the director there and all that. They know what they have to do. Yeah. The biggest challenge is in creating that ministry. What leverage have we given to that ministry? Have we provided enough resources? Yeah. And this is where there is the answer can be say no.
They haven't provided resources. No, is that the reason why the ministry is struggling?
That's one important reason why the ministry is struggling. The resources are just not adequate.
So what is the point in creating a ministry? Because you have a focus and not financing it.
And that is where we need to have a broader conversation, Evans. And the broader conversation is that as a country, we are transitioning a lower middle income country. From the time President Kufuor was exiting, we virtually said we have come of age. We are transiting to a lower middle income country. The financing architecture for the whole country has changed.
Yeah.
Mind you, your development partners, the donor community are saying that once you're a low middle income country, it means you can do things for yourself.
But you're still getting huge donor support for sanitation.
That is changing. I tell you, compare 5 years ago, what used to come in terms of the budget, I will agree with you because even 2017, 18, 19, the total envelope for the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, you still have about 80 to 85% financed by donors.
Donors, yes.
But I'm talking in terms of the quantum of money that comes in.
Has dwindled over the time, comparatively.
Exactly, because we're a lower middle income country. And that is where, as a country and as a sector, we need to widen the conversation. And that's why we lauded the president when he said, look, ministers for sanitation and water, establish National Sanitation Fund, so that we can discuss.
Has the fund been set up?
No.
When did he say this?
When the President, His Excellency, launched the National Sanitation Campaign.
Is it the same day that he?
The 30th November. You know, when he gave 12-point policy point agenda. One was, the National Sanitation Fund, the National Sanitation Authority should be created, and then also for the Ministry of Sanitation to liaise with the Attorney General Office to speed up, to support the MMDAs, to speed up prosecution of sanitation-related offenses. And one of the challenges with that is that most of the MMDs, apart from the Accra, Tamale, Ho, Ashama, and KEIA, who have bylaws in place that are gazetted. If you don't gazette bylaws, you can't prosecute. Again, someone will say that some of the national laws, Public Health Act 2012, give you this. But one important thing is that the sanitation bylaws must be in place because citizens must get to know.
Let me bring in. Do we still need a Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources?
We do need.
Well, for me as a leader in the group, a leader of the group, we will say the Sanitation Ministry is not, quote unquote, necessary.
Why?
The Ministry of Local Government has been existent over the years, and they are in charge of sanitation. For that matter, RCCs and the MMDAs, they are in charge of sanitation. I always say, the Ministry of Sanitation, where are their personnel to implement sanitation?
They say they're going to deploy sanitation guards from July.
Good. Sanitation guards, as we know, and President Kufuor's time, they were brought in 2006. And it was SS graduates who applied, who were employed and given appointments, and were trained for about 1 month. And their mandate was to follow the practicing officers, the environmental health officers, in education. So we will send them on an errand, go and educate these people, and they are not mandated by law to take action against anyone. No. We have the legal backing. I can cite a number of laws. If you read the Criminal Offences Act, 1960, Section 296, it outlines about 26 categories of nuisances. And then 1 to 15 of the 296 and 7, the law mandates Environmental Health Office to arrest without a warrant.
Okay. So what you're saying to me is, the environmental health officers, have the power to enforce and arrest people who litter, etc., who make the environment unsafe, filth, etc.
Exactly.
And yet, you are not equipped to do your job.
No.
But they are launching sanitation guards. You say they can't do their work.
They can't do it. And where are they going to work?
So why aren't you being equipped to do the job?
We don't know, unless government speaks. Because when we
how many members do you have?
Currently, we have over 4,500.
And they are in employment?
Yeah, in employment. And we have
in which
about
agencies?
1,000 sitting at home, not posted.
Okay, but the ones that are already in service,
Yes.
which agencies are they employed?
We are under Ministry of Local Government, MMDs.
Okay.
MMDs,
And yet you're there. Members are getting paid, but they don't have the resources to work.
yes, I'm one of them.
Which ministry do you work?
Ministry of Local Government.
So you are, but have you been posted to a particular?
Yes, I was posted in 2008, and to Adansi North District Assembly, and I came back to Kwabi Brim, and I'm now in Denchebo District Assembly.
And all these areas that you've been, where I'm guessing sanitation is a big issue, you didn't have the resources to work.
No.
So what were you doing whilst you were there?
We have been using our own salaries. We are field officers, and you have about 20 communities under you, and one environmental health officer is to 700 according to WHO. But in Ghana here, one environmental health officer is to 7,000. Yes.
And so what did you do practically?
If you go to the field, we have so many. We go to the hospitals, school inspection, hospital inspection. We've been burying paupers. If the cameras can capture, I can show you so many duties that decomposed bodies in the bush for us to go there and then take the body and then come and bury.
You mean, but you still don't have the resources?
We don't have the resources.
And so I'm curious to know. So what did you then do with the lack of resources?
Lack of resources.
So
we are forced to do what we can do.
Okay, which will be very limited.
Yes, that's why the sanitation problems in Ghana.
No, but Musa, Ibrahim, this is fascinating for me because there's a reason why the law has decentralized this to this level and put the power in the environmental health officers to do what they have to do. And so why are we not using them? And why are we duplicating and bringing other individuals like environmental guards, etc., sanitation guards, who lack the power to do anything? They can't arrest me. They can't enforce the law. And what even makes this worse is this sanitation gas business. We've been talking about it for for the last 2, 3, 5 decades, right? When we were all young in the 70s and 80s, I mean, we were tankansi, right? That's what they say. Yeah. It's the same thing.
We are the tankers.
Thank you very much.
We are the sama-sama.
And if you, I've just pulled up a series of stories in 2009. Yeah. Zoom Lion, there's a story. It says Zoom Lion trains sanitation guards for Upper West region, right? And then you go to AMA 2000. This is under the same government, and you find that in 2000, and this is 2018, just last year. Yeah. AMA itself launched the sanitation police. Yeah. Last year. Yeah. But the minister is saying a year on that we are going to launch again in July. Yeah. Well, what is happening here? Meanwhile, the people who are really empowered by the law.
And Evans, this is where I want to emphasize the importance of the sanitation and water resources ministry. It's absolutely crucial to give a strategic focus, because the reason why that ministry came into being, which we lauded so much, and which we continue to laud, is the fact that you see the challenge we had with sanitation. As we speak today, the multiple indicator cluster survey by Ghana Statistical Service gave us improved sanitation coverage of 21% as of last year. Look at from independence to date. You remember somewhere last 2 years, we had this, feature story which came out that Ghana was one of the second dirtiest city in West Africa. Yeah. Sanitation has been treated over the years as a poor cousin to water, because it was under several ministries, subsumed under. So given this prominence, one would have expected that a lot of things will happen.
But nothing has happened.
Exactly, and like you keep saying. So for me, it means that we as citizens need to come up, and demand action. But we also must support the ministry and the minister to show to us that really the ministry needs to exist. Okay. And we think that it must exist. And one of the important things here I was mentioning, which I keep saying that it must also happen at the ministerial level, is truly MMDAs are under Ministry of Local Government. But there need to be some generic organic relationship between Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources and Ministry of Local Government.
Do we have that relationship now?
it exists, but to what extent is it more functional?
Is it more functional now?
And near to the benefit?
Is it functioning the way it should now?
To the extent that the MMDAs virtually for 2 years after establishing the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources, almost more than 80% of them still don't have bylaws, revised, passed, and gazetted. Means that there's a problem.
There's a problem there. I want to take a quick break. When we return, we'll look at the ministry's plan, and I'll tell you something about what the ministry says they've achieved as far as sanitation goes. Because really, one of the key things we haven't done enough is tracking what has been achieved in the last 2 years. If you really take in the president's word that he wants to make Accra the cleanest city in Africa. So up until now, it's been 2 years. What have they achieved? They've told us something in their report, as far as their performance is concerned. We'll touch on that. And then I'll get Yaw and Ibrahim to tell me in their own words how we practically move from rhetoric to action on this all-important subject. Stay with us. So live on PM Express, my guest in the studio is Yaw Akwaa Lartey. He is the interim national president of the Environmental Health Officers Alliance, Ghana, and Ibrahim Musa, who is the water and sanitation consultant at the Coalition of NGOs in Water and Sanitation, CONEWAS. Ibrahim, so we have 2 years since the declarations were made, timelines were set, KPIs, call it KPIs, were set to achieve a certain outcome and results. Have we assessed yet where we are in 2 years, and where are we in 2 years?
Thank you very much, Ivan. So the CONEWAS has taken, and it's almost done with the position paper on the President's directive and 12-point agenda when he launched the National Sanitation Campaign on 13 November 2017. Yeah. The President actually made 2 important points at the launch, that the ministry should lead the charge to ensure that the negative citizen attitude towards sanitation is changed, and that's behavior change. And the second one was that the President directed the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources to implement 12-point policy agenda. And so with respect to the 12-point policy agenda, as we speak, CONEWAS has done an assessment of this 12 policy point agenda and is about releasing the position paper on it. Okay. In the next few days, you will see if I may even...
Are we in a good place? Just without specifics,
so for
generally,
instance,
are we in a good place?
We are not.
Okay.
It's not good. For instance, 1, the President directed the establishment of National Sanitation Authority. It's not done. The President directed the establishment of Sanitation Fund. It's not done. The President directed that the ministry should work closely with the Attorney General Department to speed up prosecution of sanitation-related offenses. As we speak, more than 80% of the MMDAs do not have revised, approved, gazetted bylaws in place to speed up prosecution. You can only talk about the AMAs, the KIAs, the Tamale Metro, Ashama Municipal, and then Ho. And I will tell you that in the case of Tamale, Ashama Municipal, and Ho Municipal Assembly, the secret why they are up in their game is that there is a donor-funded urban sanitation project by UNICEF ongoing there. So they have been able to get all this in place, and they are speeding up with prosecution. And
the thing that gets me, I don't even get why in Ghana we have to rely on donor support to keep clean.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it beats me. I mean, you have to rely on somebody's benevolence to keep yourself clean. You have to reduce it to your house, so that if Ibrahim doesn't come and give me money, I will not keep my house clean. That is what this is. It beats my imagination.
You know, before introduction of Zoom Lion, the MMDAs were in charge of sanitation. I think Zoom Lion came in 2006. Those sanitation problems wasn't a bigger challenge because we were mandated and we were having laborers in which the environmental health officers supervise. We have a roll call early by 6 o'clock. we must be there to take the roll call. And when we are moved and we are supervised, you will clean everywhere. But where are the laborers? Everything has been privatized. And Zoom Lion, are they doing the work at all? When we talk about sanitation, Zoom Lion appears. Is Zoom Lion official mouthpiece of government on sanitation issues? We have been mandated by law. I can quote the Public Health Act Section 3. It has mandated that the Criminal and Other Offences Amendment Act 1960, Act 20. It has mandated acts and a whole lot of laws. But I will still insist that we are not resourced. Look, you are telling me I'm an enforcement agent to go and arrest, detain, per the Public Health Act 2012, Section 3. I'm not in uniform. How do I arrest and detain? Our officers who move into the communities, some are even lynched because they mistook them as thieves.
Until today, I didn't even know we had anything like environmental health officers. I'm being honest.
We are there. Look, as I was saying, look at this book. Government of Ghana, Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development, Environmental Health and Sanitation Unit, Manual for Environmental Health Prosecutors in Ghana.
Prepared in 2002.
And 2.
I'm sure a donor provided money to do it. True. I'm sure we only did it because some donor insisted that we should do it as part of a condition to get money. True or false?
For that one,
because you mentioned, you said Tamale.
Yeah,
Tamale is doing Ashaman. They are doing well because some donor says do it or else we aren't giving you money.
Yeah.
That is our problem as a country.
Yeah, and that is where we must help the ministry to set the priorities.
If a donor
right.
comes today and says, put your environmental health officers to use or else we are not giving you money, you see. They'll find uniforms for you, they'll put it to use right now. That's what is wrong with this country.
But Ivan, there's also another conversation at the strategic level we need to have it.
Okay.
And that is also that this issue of inadequacy of resources or a whole year.
Because we don't prioritize
exactly, and a whole year ministry draws up a budget. The budget goes to the August House of Parliament, is debated, approved, and I tell you that after approval, Appropriation Act is passed, and 6 months, we are entering May. Send your investigators or your investigative journalists to them, some of the ministries. I can tell you authoritatively that we're ending April. Some of the ministries haven't gotten a dime.
Quick question, and this is in 30 seconds each. So, bullet points for you. How do we move from rhetoric to action?
Moving from rhetoric to action means calling for national stakeholder dialogue on alternative financing.
We've been dialoguing on this for.
But it has to happen.
We need more dialogue.
We need more dialogue to have alternative financing sources.
More dialogue. What are you talking about? Are you tired of talking about
and
dialogue?
And then secondly, the issue of dealing with recalcitrant citizens.
Okay.
So
prosecute people.
Exactly.
Who make an example
sanitation, because you cannot get out from your house and come out and throw rubbish.
That brings in my sanitation officer question. So for you, in 30 seconds is also, how do we move from rhetoric to action? I guess you say resource us.
Resource, and they're using the right personnel.
Okay.
You see, if you go to the
don't create parallel, duplicate.
And again,
the systems
MMDs. We have the municipal environmental health officers, we have the district environmental health officers, we have the metro environmental health officers. As I said earlier, we have been trained. I was trained in school.
So put them to use.
They have been posting quote and unquote packs
to the
MMDs to head.
Yaw Akwaa Lartey is the international president of the Environmental Health Officers Alliance Ghana. Ibrahim Musa obviously is the water and sanitation consultant. And Kony was on the phone earlier. Was the ranking member on the committee responsible for environment, science, and my name is Evans Mensah. On this sanitation question, it never ends. Let's see if the new deadline materializes in 2024, where Accra may become Africa's cleanest city. Enjoy the rest of your evening.